Hello everyone, welcome to Comfy's Clothes here and thank you for sticking to my channel, whether as a subscriber or a first time viewer. In this video, I'll be showing you all how I made this stylish Bubu dress that is displayed on the screen right now. Using almost 2.5 yards of the plain Ankara, that is the one I used for the upper part. While for the lower part, I just calculated the length and width needed to complete my full length. Then I cut my pieces fabric to give me the required measurement. So if this is something you are interested in, please keep on watching and don't forget to subscribe if you are yet to. With that being said, let's get started. I've already folded my fabric into the required width needed for the back piece of this dress, which is my hip measurement divided by 4 plus my 4 inches allowance. You can use more or less than 4 inches for your allowance, but I think 4 is perfect. And please note that the fabric is in a fold of 2, as we'll be cutting the back and the front separately. I went down to the length I want this upper part to be, which is 38, though I later reduced it to 36.5. And from the top of my fabric, which serves as the shoulder line, I went down by 10 for my bust line and armhole. Then I went down by 16.5 for my tummy cut, that is the shoulder to waistline. And from my tummy cut, I went down by 10 for my hip line. 9 can also work for hip line though. And you can as well just be needing only your bust line and your dress length if you want the dress to have an even measurement all through the bust to the full length. But I want mine to have a little shape, hence the need for the tummy cut and hip line. After that, I went ahead to take my body measurement. I divided my shoulder by 2 and added an extra inch because it's a free dress. Then I divided my bust measurement by 4 and added my allowance. I did same for my tummy and hip using their respective measurements and added allowance as well. Then I went ahead to connect these measurements. Don't forget to also extend your hip measurement to the length. Once you are done connecting your measurement, you can go ahead and cut it out. Then we'll head over to cutting the neckline. This is a round neckline and I used 3 by 1.5. That is, the width is 3 inches while the depth is 1.5 inches. It's a collar dress, so it doesn't need to be deep. Go ahead and connect after measuring. You can use a curved ruler if you have. I use freehand because I don't have a curved ruler at the moment. You can see I've been using freehand for most of this. I mean all of it. And that's all for the back piece of this dress. Now for the front piece, you'll be needing a pattern paper because of the collar. On my pattern paper, I already marked 5 inches downwards. Then I placed the pattern paper on the material, making sure that the starting point of the material aligns with the point I marked on the pattern paper. The total width of the material you'll be needing for the front piece is an inch more than the one used for the back piece. And this extra inch will serve as the button allowance. As you can see, I've already marked my button allowance using the said 1 inch, and I'm using a marker to make it visible on the pattern paper. Forgive me for using a remote. It is the closest substitute to a ruler that was within my reach, and it's not a crime to improvise, right? Alright, I really hope you all are understanding this and getting value from it. And if you can't hear me clearly or I'm too fast or something, I hope you can see what I'm doing and be able to pick up from there. So once you are done aligning your buttonhole, your button allowance, the next thing you will do is take your body measurements, just like we did with the back piece. So I marked my bust point, which also serves as the armhole line, then my tummy cut, hip line and the length, which I've already marked. I went ahead to highlight these lines and I input the same measurement I used for the back piece. For the neckline of this piece, we'll be using same width as the back. You know it's standard for the front and back neckline to have the same width. So the wideness is 3 inches and the depth is also 3 inches. Then you connect it like so. I'm using a pencil first, then I'll use my marker to highlight it. And the neckline should be extended to the button allowance. Once you're done with this, we'll head over to drafting the collar. To mark out this collar, we'll be needing the back piece. On a fold like this, measure around your back piece neckline. You can do this twice to be sure. After measuring mine, I have 4.2 inches and I'll be using exactly that 4.2 inches. Place your tape on that point where we marked the 5 inches and go up by the value of your round neckline. Mine is 4.2. Then you connect it slantly into the neckline. At the top of this line, you will come out by 1/4 of an inch and blend it into the collar. This is to make the collar slanty. Again, I really hope this is not too difficult to understand. So once you blend in your new collar, you just cancel out the former line. Now you choose how wide you want your collar to be and extend the new collar line by whatever value you choose. I used 3.5 inches for mine. Then I went down to the neckline that was extended into the button allowance. And at that point, I went up by half an inch at the edge of the pattern and slant it in to meet the actual neckline. This will give you a notch on the collar. So after this process, your pattern should be looking like this. The next thing to do is to connect your flap. You will decide how deep you want your flap to be, and note that the deeper the flap, the more open your cleavage will be. Then from that point you choose, you connect it like this, slantly, to the center of your neckline. Oh, I didn't finish up the collar. Please note that this line should be a bit curved inwards while connecting your collar like so. Now that's all for the front of this dress. Let's go ahead and cut. And this is how our flap will look like. I decided to extend mine a bit, and note that we are not cutting out the flap. You can take off your pattern paper now and slit open your center front. This is another reason why we needed a pattern paper for this piece, to cut out the lining for our flap area. So from the center front, I came in by 6 inches straight up from the bottom to the chest area. Then I slightly extended it to the shoulder like so. And I went ahead to slash it. This is the part that will have the material as lining. If you have enough material to spare, you can use it as lining for both parts, and there will be no need for slashing the pattern in that case. So I'll head over to cut my lining and collar. When you're cutting your collar, make sure to add some allowances by the side, and note that your fabric should be folded. So I've gone ahead to cut my collar and the other lining, and this is what they look like. So you'll be cutting 2 pieces of this collar. One will serve as the lining. You can see the allowance I added to the size of the collar. I didn't add at the center. I also added gum stay to one of the collar. This is optional but advisable. So my eye almost burned the fabric because it was too hot. The part I added gum stay to will be the good face of my collar. You know the side that shows when you fold your collar, yeah? Right. I marked 1.5 inches upward on both sides of the collar, and I'll be sewing from one end of the 1.5 inches to the other end, leaving this upper part I'm pointing out right now open. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. And this is how the lining looks like. This is so that when you fold your flap, you have the actual fabric showing instead of, this black, the other black lining. I'll top up the lining at the bottom to meet up the actual length of this dress. So I'm done sewing the collar, and this is what I meant. You can see the part I sewed and the part I didn't. I went ahead to iron my collar, and I folded in one of the open edge and left the other one lying flat. I had to trim off a little of this flat edge though, because after sewing it, it was gaping at the back. And I'm also done topping up the lining, and I went ahead to sew each piece. I also added the design at the middle of the dress. I didn't record the process of this center design, but if you need a tutorial on that, let me know. And this is how the lining looks in the inside. So for the lower part, this is what my Miss Ankara fabric looks like before joining. Your measurements will actually determine the size of this, and I've told you the measurements I used for mine in the beginning of this video. I have these fabrics in pieces already, so I did the cutting and joining myself. I don't know if you can get a mixed print like this in the market. I've also gone ahead to finish up the back piece of this dress, and this is what it looks like. I'll be adding a lining to this down part as well once I'm done fixing the collar. Before fixing your collar, you will need to join the shoulder. I've joined my shoulder and sewn about 1.5 inches from the front end of the neckline. You can see it like so. I did that for both parts of the front. Then I notched the center of my neckline and I also notched the center of my collar. Note that you are notching the flat end and not the one that we folded in. After notching the center of both pieces, you place the bad side of your collar to the right face of your fabric, making sure that both notches are aligned. Then you pin it around to secure them together. Remember that you are pinning the edge lying flat and not the one we folded in. There are different ways to fix your collar, and I think this method is a bit tricky because of the curve of this collar. Anyway, this is how I fixed mine. I've also sewn a notch collar like this using the simple method. Let me know if you need a video of that. And you would want to pin these fabrics together in order to secure them. So after pinning down, you can go ahead and sew it carefully, making sure that you tilt your hand and fabric where there is need, cause it's not a straight collar. See how I take my time to put the materials together before any stitch. And once you are done with that part, you just flip over the folded part and place it like this, as you see me do, making sure that it covers the seam line. I mean the seam line of the previous stitch. And this part is tricky. Remember I said I had to trim off a little from the flat edge? That is the back of the collar. It's because while I was pinning this, I noticed that the back of the collar was gaping, and the fault was from the excess allowance of the back collar. That is that flat edge. So I had to trim off from that edge and re-sew it. Honestly, it was a bit of trouble for me, but because I know where the fault was coming from, I was able to sort it. You just have to take your time with this and carefully arrange it. And if you know any other method to fix your collar, please go ahead with it. Remember I said I fixed a collar like this, but with a different method. But I decided to use this because I like how neat the finishing of this method is. The other method, you have to weave the inner or outer part of it depending on how you place the collar. After carefully and patiently fixing my collar, this is the end result of my outfit. The hem is looking neat. I did my buttonhole and fixed my buttons. I had to stay up all night, figuratively, to do the finishing because I wanted to wear the dress to church the next day. I don't know what's wrong with us tailors that we wait for last minute before making our outfits. Okay, that's by the ways. Now see how neat my finished collar look. The back is even neater. You're going to see the back view soon. So we've come to the end of today's video, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe so that you get to see more interesting videos from me. Do let's also like this video and leave a comment for me in the comment section, whether it's a compliment, an observation, or a suggestion. By the way, this is my first official tutorial. I wouldn't like to call it a tutorial, but that's what I can think of right now. So also rate me in the comment section. Thank you for watching till this point, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Bye.